Good morning, honorable ministers of the council, media, television viewers, internet viewers. Welcome to today's live Council of Ministers press briefing, October 19, 2022. I would now like to open the floor for Minister Attlee for any opening remarks.
Of course. Thank you. It's an honor to be here again. It's been a while. I've been on work travel. It's good to see we have a full house. Dr. Saka, I haven't saw you in a while, so it's good to see you. Good day to the Honorable Prime Minister and the members of the media, the viewing and listening public. I first would like to touch base on something that was asked to the Prime Minister, and I was not here to respond, and due to work travel, but it seems as I think it's very important that I do. And this is the matter of the EHAS. The EHAS the name is actually not EHAS. It's COVID Prevention Project. This was a project before my tenure as Minister of VSA that was created to open the economy. St. Martin, along with the rest of the world, was shut down. So it was funded through the disaster fund as an emergency purpose to allow economic activity. Persons were hired on a project base. Can you stop doing that? You're kind of interrupting me, sir. Thank you. So persons were hired on a project base. And everyone knew beforehand that the job was temporary. The advice that went to the Council of Ministers was for 2 years maximum. When COVID-19 came out, everyone thought that COVID-19 would last probably, the first indication was 3 to 6 months. We had the Alpha. Numbers went extremely low. We thought we saw the end of COVID-19. Then we met with the Delta. Numbers surged and then went extremely low again. And when we thought we was out of it, we were met with Omicron. So no one knew what to expect. But when I hear reporters speak of persons not getting overtime and persons being misused, I think that you should get your facts in order. These persons work based on an hourly approach. Of course, when they were hired, everyone expected normal, you would be expected to work 40 hours. But if they work 15 hours, their invoices that they submit to government, keyword invoices, stated 15 hours. If they work 5, their invoices stated 5 hours. They were in charge of their own taxes. They were in charge of their own medical. The apparatus was a service agreement as a consultant. Employees does not submit invoices. Now, unfortunately, we have been faced with backlash from 2 members of former members of the EHAS that don't agree with their dismissal. First of all, it was an agreement, a mutual agreement to part ways for the project. Then it's being said that they were forced. No one was forced. It was clearly explained to them. And in a voice note that was illegally recorded by one of these persons, unknowingly to my staff and sent, I would like to play it because I didn't record it. They recorded the voice note. And here, I would like to play this.
Yeah. So that's what we do. And I think that it was never a long-term.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
It ain't no surprise. That we know from the beginning. So it was a project and it's going to end too. Yeah.
So for those that don't understand, that is the person now that is, I guess, filing a dispute stating it's not a secret. We know from the beginning that this was a project and it was coming to an end. That is the person that recorded the meeting. I have another piece I would like to play.
Look, all of them, every one of them, they could say what they want. They all know that this project was coming to an end. This is true. This letter confirmed that it's coming to an end. Mm-hmm. So if you don't say, okay, let me try to find something else in the time being, that's up to you.
So for those who don't understand, he's saying all of them could be upset if they want, but everyone knew this project was coming to an end. The letter clearly shows us that this project was coming to an end. This was recorded in September. The letter he speaks about is a letter from June 2022, in which they were notified that due to budget constraints, that EHAS will have to come to an end eventually. The budget went from 1-point-something million to 500,000. That's the cuts, and eventually has to come to an end. Here you have it right here. The persons acknowledge that from the beginning, they knew that it was a temporary project based on COVID, and acknowledge that the letter of June gave them advance time to look for something else. And he himself said, whoever is upset is crazy because we all knew. See, I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus, but my name is my name. My name is all I have. And when you try to defamation of character, I have to answer. I have to show that I in no form or means took advantage of anyone. Everyone on the EHAS signed. I have it here. They signed 2 days before me. It was not forced. It's a mutual agreement of separation. The project is coming to an end. So while we speak on EHAS, as you know, as of October 15th, residents no longer required any sort of testing, whether vaccinated or not. As of November 1st, this would extend to everyone. So all visitors can enter St. Martin with no test required, regardless of your vaccination status, as of November 1st. We intend to notify the public, the tourists, the visitors, that the information would be used for data purposes. And hopefully, with that, we can continue to accumulate more data and enhance our touristical destination. Data is very important. I would also like to speak now on some relatively important matters and some good news for St. Martin and the industry. We are expected 1.5 million cruise passengers for the 2022-2023 season. Cruise lines look amazingly promising. There's work opportunities with Royal Caribbean, in which the marketplace is finally going to be on its way. We are doing our last adjustments. We are accumulating the prices, and then a tender will go out to carry these works. On top of that, for the first time in about 10 to 15 years, we're going to remodel the Captain Hodge Wharf. We're going to remove the damaged woods, place concrete, revitalize the entire Phillipsburg. We also plan, as Minister of TIAT and the port, to meet with all stakeholders, every jewelry store, every store on Front Street, and have a major meeting on the enhancement and the importance of the upkeep of the property. If there's a broken brick in front of your store, maybe we can come to some arrangement. It's in front of your store. Let's get it done. We are in this together, and let's see how we can deal with it on the back end. But the importance is now. We need to fix St. Martin now. There's also some great news. As you saw in the media while I was away, the luxury cruise yacht Sea Dreams 2 will be home porting out of St. Martin. This is great. And then more great news in the newspaper today. We see the Ritz-Carlton yacht will be home porting out of St. Martin today. This is great news. This is one of the things that we aim for, quality over quantity. This is a different demographic, and St. Martin is really stepping into that elite services like the Sembarts and by inviting these type of cruise lines. I'm also very happy to announce that the CoM, it's a CoM effort, has approved the port's master plan. We see that Anguilla has I would say fuss us in revealing their plans, but our plans will be coming real soon, and it will be beneficial to St. Martin. And I would like to thank the entire CoM for putting this as priority, especially the Prime Minister, and ensuring that this master plan takes place. Also, very great news. The NADA report of the minimum wage has been completed, has been sent and vetted by Yezetinwe, and will be on CoM the next coming weeks, and finally sent to His Excellency, fingers crossed, for signing. So that is very soon. The Ministry of ASI is also diligently and have been diligently working on a trauma services plan to enhance the emergency services, whereby We would have trained doctors, on-call doctors that can probably ride with the ambulance for trauma services, that we can treat the patient from the onset of the incident all the way to the hospital. It takes some financial input. It takes meetings with stakeholders, but we have met with the ambulance service. We have a plan of approach already approved, so we are moving forward with this. That's it. I look forward to any questions from the members of the media. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley. Great news indeed. I would now like to invite our Prime Minister, Sylvia Jacobs, for opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. LaBega. Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague minister. Welcome back. Good morning to the members of the press. Of course, good morning to the listening and viewing public. Good morning, St. Martin. As you know, we're still in Pinktober, so we are still promoting breast cancer awareness. I want to commend the St. Martin Medical Center and their collaborations with the non-governmental organizations, Positive Foundation, Electrolytes, and others with their awareness program that they carried out last Saturday. There are many, many persons within our community who are going through the process of the fight, and I would like to say St. Martin stands with you. Your fight is our fight. And we will continue to build awareness as a government around not just this, but many other types of cancers that have become very prevalent on St. Martin. I'd also like to commend CPS for their outreach program in promoting hand washing and the like, and they continue to play a pivotal role in our community. I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate our latest candidate, St. Martina, who has achieved a doctoral degree. She started out at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport in the Student Support Services Division and moved on to the Mental Health Department and has now earned her doctorate. Dr. Tamika Lambert, one of St. Martin's own, completed her degree, a doctorate in clinical psychology. We must take the time to highlight these great positive achievements, as that's the type of capacity building we need on St. Martin to ensure that we are able to serve our population. So congratulations to you as you take on even more responsibilities in your function. I'd also like to address some, I can say, perceptions in the community. There have been much talk about access to information, and I would want to emphasize that as government, we continue to promote an environment that supports the dissemination of information to the general public. As a government, it has been our goal, of course, to set the framework and provide policies that will provide a healthy structure for how we interact. I support and I look forward to a healthy interaction between the media and government of St. Martin. And I anticipate, as I'd mentioned from the onset, when it was brought to our attention that more dialogue was needed, which we granted, that the media also should come together, unite, and form the Media Guild, which would then also give a basis for who and are recognized as media personnel on the island. We do not need to do that if that is then done from your standpoint. With that being said, we recognize also that next week is Media and Information Literacy Week, and as government, we will be celebrating the right to access to information with some public service announcements on how to access information safely, how to protect oneself from negative or unauthorized information, and also how to access some tools on how to navigate the information literacy in a healthy way. So as such, we remain open for questions. We will be responding to those, and I look forward to us continuing to share that information via the various media on St. Martin. And of course, also via our own platforms. Today, stakeholder meetings are being held to gather input from the St. Martin stakeholders for the development of a kingdom-wide strategy document on national security, counterterrorism, intelligence, and security. This includes disaster risk management. Based on a risk assessment that had been concluded, which also included all parts of the kingdom, The policy expects that throughout the kingdom, they have sat in groups, analyzed our resilience, including the Caribbean countries, against these 3 threats previously mentioned. During these meetings are particular vulnerabilities pertaining to climate change, limited resources in times of crises, lack of fallback options, foreign interference, and geopolitical instability will be further addressed in order to develop the kingdom security strategy for the next 6 years. So the consultations are happening today, throughout the day, with various stakeholders, with the group that has been visiting from the, make sure I'm saying it correctly, the National Coordinator Counterterrorism Security from the Netherlands. So they are doing the consultations to finalize the strategy kingdom-wide, which will include all Caribbean countries within the kingdom. We're happy. I was happy to have a, a meeting, early meeting with them this morning before the session started. And I will also drop into the sessions during the day to see how they are going. Various stakeholders within the community are taking part in those sessions, after which, by the first quarter, we'll be then getting this finalized strategy, which will then count for the entire kingdom. Today will also mark a new stage in the our relationship as government with the World Bank, as the establishment agreement, which has been long awaited, will be ratified today during a signing ceremony. As you may recall, the necessary legislation was approved by Parliament in July of this year, and thereby allowing for the finalization of this agreement, which has many benefits for St. Martin. That legislation also opens the door for any other international organizations to be established on St. Martin, which is key for when we have, for instance, crises such as we've had after the hurricanes, and they are to come in, then let's say the manner in which we would interact would be regulated by such an agreement as well. So that's a good step in the right direction for St. Martin. Also within Ministry of General Affairs, the launch of the National Development Vision has been confirmed to be taking place between November 7th and 10th, leading up to St. Martin Day celebrations. There will be much more information provided on this as we get closer to these dates. We are still in the hurricane season, and though we're winding down, we do ask the general public of St. Martin to continue to be prepared for any eventualities. Visit our website, www.stmartingov.org, the Government of St. Martin Facebook page, www.meteosxm.com, and tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio 1079 for tips on how to prepare and keep your family safe. We will continue to be vigilant and update the public as necessary. With that being said, that's all for now, Mr. LaBega, and I await any questions from the media. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Jacobs. For those who have our radio and televiewers who have joined us recently after we started, you're watching the live press briefing of the Council of Ministers for October 19th, 2022. I would now like to go over to the question and answer session of this press conference and invite Bibi Shah.
Good morning, Andrew. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, ministers. My question is for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Jacobs, I am asking you regarding NVGEBE. What exactly is the financial reserve of the company? My information is there is a 20 million, while 5 million of that is on a fixed deposit. If my information is correct, Prime Minister, how do you see this company, withstanding or survive by the end of the year? And especially considering the outstanding with creditors. In the meantime, you can tell us who exactly is going to be paying the 2 teams that are conducting the investigation, one the investigation and the crisis management team. Is it GEBE or the government of St. Martin?
Thank you for your question. As it relates to the financials of NVGB, I presented in Parliament last week, Friday. I have not received any updates since then, and I believe it was 29 million mentioned. How it's broken down and what part is whatever part you just asked about in terms of fixed is unknown to me at this time. I did make a public presentation on NVGEBE, and that's the only information I have up to now as it relates to any contracts that were made by management. It is for the account of NVGEBE in how they will be covering the costs.
Mr. Brown?
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and to the ministers that are present here today. Question to the Minister of Health. I'm glad to see you again. Minister, it was August, I think the 18th, that you received a letter from Mark Bingo. If it just clarify it, if I'm not saying the right thing. But did you consider the letter? I mean, what he was asking for, do you consider the letter?
Of course, I considered it. I won't just throw it on the side. I don't remember the exact date, but what I did advise is that the letter needs to be addressed to the government and not to me. The letter didn't specify any specific demands or requests, so I advise that the letter be addressed to the government. From there, I don't know if anything has been received. I haven't heard anything. I only saw it in the media, but I haven't heard anything since.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Sack, any questions?
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Minister Otley. Good morning, Madam Prime Minister. It's nice to see you both. I know it's been a while since I've been here. I know that last week, Madam Prime Minister, you had made a statement about EHAS, if you will, the Electronic Health Application System, or the COVID, kind of the broader COVID prevention project, as we learned is the proper title. And it was publicly, there was a whole uproar last week or during the week and confusion about what's really going on, to the point where I can imagine government phones must have been ringing. I was getting tons of phone calls from visitors. What do we have to do? What's changing? What's not changing? So for the purposes of clarity, so we're all clear, could you elaborate and then let us know, both of you or individually, what happens October 15th? Have the airlines been informed? And what happens on November 1st? And have the airlines been informed? Because we really, with 1.5 million cruise ship people coming and probably 500,000 or more stay-over tourists, we're going to have a banner season. We need to make sure that we got this crystal clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sack. And I'm happy that with your numbers, because you know we're going to have about 500,000 or hopefully more stay-over tourists. Our season is going to be amazing, I must say. So for clarity, as of October 15th, residents are allowed to come home regardless of vaccination status. You are still to fill out the EHAS. As of November 1st, everyone can come without testing. The EHAS will still be required to be filled out, but not in its entirety. We want to move towards an ED system, like Aruba, Curacao, where you need to fill this out for statistical data in order to enter their country. I just came back from the Dominican Republic. I had to fill out a form, not only to enter, but also to leave. All of these countries, touristical countries that are in the top 20 in destinations, use this information to enhance their services. So there will be an automated response. What we are going to do is remove the whole health aspect of the questions, and it's more for information. But the persons filling out the form will be informed on what the information is for. So the intention, after November 1st, you go online, you fill it out, right? You get an automated response one time. Thank you for filling this out. You enter your flight and you come. The airlines, all airlines have been notified. When we make these changes, we do 2.5 to 2 weeks minimum notice between Justice, TIAT, and VSA. Justice handles the timatic, and everything is relayed to the airlines.
So, Minister, then as a follow-up, do if I don't fill out this form, will the airline after November 1st not allow me to board the aircraft?
The intention is to have it as such, or if you happen to be on the flight and you make it, the intention is to have someone there that would, encourage you to fill it out, let you know the importance of it. As you know, like I stated, and I use Aruba a lot because when I have meetings with SHTA, that comes up, Aruba. But it's a requirement to fill this out, even to enter Aruba. So we're looking into that approach, but it will be simple. It's a simple form, nothing that will take you more than 5 minutes, and it would not hinder you. So the idea is not to hinder you from coming for St. Martin, just information purposes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Ms. Hoffman, any questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Arno. Good morning, ministers. Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice is not here. I would like to ask, there is a young woman, 24 years old, that is currently detained. She was last night, or that's the night from Monday to Tuesday, attacked by her boyfriend. And in the middle of the night, she went to the police station to file a complaint against him. And now she is, the next day, the prosecutor demanded that she be detained at the police holding cells too. This is now the third time in a short while that this happened. Happened also with a woman that lives in Kupkoi when her husband came home drunk. Both of them were detained. And a man that was stabbed by his girlfriend, he was wounded, and he, as the victim, was also detained with his girlfriend at a police holding cell. So I just want to ask you if you would look into this.
Okay, this is very detailed information from which I really have no information, but indeed I'll pass this information on to the Justice Ministry and Minister for a response.
Thank you.
Mr. Dick.
Thank you. Good morning to the ministers present. Minister Otley, there's a big concert that's coming up. Of course, don't know if you know of it, Burna Boy. And as far as the government support is concerned, has the government given any support to the organizers? I know the French side has stepped in. So just would like to get confirmation from you.
Thank you, Mr. Dick. I have been in contact with the promoter. Actually, as Minister of TIAT, I received a request. I would consider it last minute. I received a request 2 to 3 days after the flyer came out. Something very important to note is that tourist budget was also cut from, I think, 7 million to 3. We are now at the end of the year, and it's very difficult to allocate funds. There were no funds available. I did indicate that we would look to see what can be done, but we're trying. We're trying. We can't make promises, and I won't make promises, but it was brought to me very, very, very last minute. And like I stated, we are at the end of the year. So it's very difficult as the Tourist Bureau has a lot of already, say, approved and that's the right word, committed events to handle.
Okay, so as a follow-up, you did mention the importance of tourists.
Correct.
And the amount of tourists that are coming for this concert. Will government do anything?
We're trying. I don't want to say yes and we can't, because financially, and I have been trying to allocate funds. We have had meetings with our entire department to see who have remaining funds or anything of the sort. All of that has been done. So I don't want it to seem like as if government is not trying. We are trying, but I cannot commit. The last thing I want to do is put the promoters in a bind by saying we commit and then we are not able to, and they end up in an expense, or worse, the show is canceled because they are expecting a certain amount from the government and we can't deliver. That's the last thing I want.
Before we continue, I'd like to welcome Minister of Finance, Adwell Arian, who has joined our press conference, and you have a comment on this.
Yes, good morning all. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. Good morning to the media. Good morning to the Honorable Council of Ministers. In regards to the question stated by Mr. Dick, yes, as the minister mentioned, I believe he was even traveling at a time when the request came in. And we also discussed the lateness of the request. And but there are also other aspects where support can be given, which the government is looking into. So other areas where they are asking for support, which we are looking into to make sure that the event is successful. But again, it is a last minute request according to what I've seen. Even if you look at the general public, even at one point in time, they weren't sure if it was going to happen or not, right? So the request is in. The minister and myself, we have discussed options on how we can support, and it is being worked on. Also, other areas that are not specifically financial that the promoter wants would like to see if it's possible to be helped.
Thank you, Minister, for the additional input. We finished with round one of the question and answer period. We can now go over to round two, and I would invite P.B. Shaw.
Thank you, Arno. My question is for the Minister of TIAT. Minister Otley, can you give us any type of feedback since the implementation on the extension of the basket of goods?
Well, as you know, Ms. Hadshaw, some people are benefiting. We have received numerous complaints as well as maybe some, not numerous, but a few. I will say a few because I haven't received that much on a few companies that maybe would not bring in that particular brand anymore. But as you know, we put out the website where we ask for their assistance. We ask if you see any pricing that does not match our maximum price, let us know. We have not received many complaints, not saying that they are not, but we have created the avenues for persons to help us assist them. The cost of goods in general is a problem. The cost of goods in general. So I'm happy to announce that actually after this, I have a meeting with some representative of the local agricultural groups, so we can sit together and they can understand where I am coming from, and I can then understand where they are coming from. Because if we fight, no one will win. The reality is we are dealing with a surge in cost, in food costs, in good costs. Eggs went from $3 to $7. And this is cause for immediate action. I need an immediate action. So when we speak of importation of goods, it's nothing new. It's happening now, you know? So I think that there's a misunderstanding somewhere. So immediately after here, I think at 12, I have a meeting with the agricultural group where we can find a way and they can understand that the government is not neglecting them, but we need some sort of action now. And maybe they can help me find some sort of action, but we need it now because prices are ridiculous and everyone is feeling it.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Brown?
Question to the Prime Minister. Last week, Prime Minister, there was a question asked about GB, and in one aspect of your response, you said that government companies are to hold accountable. Minister, are there any documents that prove that there was really a cyber attack? And two, 4 persons have been suspended. Are these 4 persons are more persons of interest as the investigation goes on?
Thank you for the question. Indeed, I don't think there's any doubt that there was a cyber attack. There was a report that was preliminary issued, and currently the investigation is ongoing, which also has an ICT component. We do not have the results of the investigations that are currently ongoing as yet. So in that respect, I cannot comment on that. I did mention that we will be getting bi-weekly updates from NVGB's management, and we did get an extension request, so we should have received this yesterday. I don't know if it came in yet. I would have to check. But what was due last Friday, we approved to extend the hand-in up until yesterday. As such, we don't, as a council, have, let's say, updated over the past 2 weeks on where they are. And the second part of the question was what?
4 persons being suspended.
Right, so I cannot comment.
Are the person of
I
interest?
cannot comment on that. I think I also made that clear in last week's press briefing that whilst we may all want to know the nitty-gritties of everything, especially as it relates to personnel, I do not consider it integral to discuss, especially in a small island state like St. Martin, persons' private personnel matters. Yeah, it would be for that person to share the information that they want on the streets, but they will not be able to say that it came from government. Yes? In respecting that today for me, tomorrow for you, it could be anybody, and I think everybody should respect the privacy of the persons involved and allow the investigation to take place, and should there be any statements made, that it would be made either from the company or from the individuals themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Jacobs. Mr. Dr. Sack.
Thank you. Welcome, Minister Arian. Sorry to hit you with this. I know you just joined us. This one is a little troublesome for me. About 2 weeks ago, I got an email from someone in compliance in the tax office asking me for my business, for the network, if I would complete a survey and provide a fair amount of detailed, very detailed information. Information that is readily available by the virtue that I've been filing tax returns, profit loss returns for, 20 years. Before I did anything, I called my accountant, and he said, he kind of chuckled. He said, "Yeah, fill out the survey, send them everything, but by all means include a cover letter and explain that you're a little disheartened that you have to go provide all of this information that they already have." So I submitted everything. I wrote a nice cover letter and sent it off. But 30 seconds after I hit send, I got a reply back saying, "According to our records, your company has not filed any of your monthly tax filings from March of 2021 through December of 2021. Yet I've never received anything in the mail that indicates otherwise." So I picked the phone and I called the person and I said, "Listen, you're 100% incorrect. We have filed everything on time, every month. No issues asked." And then they said, "Well, can you please submit all of the filings and proof that you filed?" And I said, "Please have your supervisor call me." Because I was a little furious at this point. Because I have to pull the accountant, pull all this information, copy it, and send it over. But later that afternoon, I get another phone call from them saying, "We've done an in-depth search of our tax administration, and you're absolutely right. Everything is up to date. We've now changed the way that we're working, and we're not going to go after people that are in the system. We're going to go after people that file and pay. We're going to go after people that don't file and pay." And this was all just very disturbing to me, that this is the way that we're working. And
Dr. Sack,
I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Could you get to the point? Thank you. Is
Sorry,
there a question?
I don't have a
you
question.
just want that
Well, I don't understand why
response.
is this going on? What are they asking for? It's all information that you guys have.
So I'm not sure if that is the tax. So I had a recent inquiry recently also, and that was based on the RTS, the English name for it, but that was actually on the SFE. So they're doing audits. So I'm not sure if the audit team, so RTS, that's what they call. So when we inquired, it was not under the tax, it was under the RTS. So I'm not sure if that is the organization that's also falls currently under SFV. So I have to get a proper update if that was actually tax or that was RTS and so forth, because they don't have all the information that the tax office has. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Hoffman.
Thank you. Minister Arion, could you explain the disaster fund, the purpose balance, where the money comes from?
Could you repeat the question?
Could you explain the disaster fund?
Which disaster fund?
the disaster fund Minister Utley was referring to.
So the main. Oh, the disaster fund. Sorry, there's different concepts happening. So there's a disaster policy that's being done by the Ministry of Azet. There's also a disaster fund incorporation in the Ministry of Finance.
Minister, could you be more specific as to
but I
which
think I
disaster
understand
fund you're
now.
referring to? And the question? The minister obviously is not understanding exactly where you're going with the
Minister
question.
Utley explained that 1.6 million came from the disaster fund for EHAS. So the disaster fund is not from the World Bank. It's not NRPB. So I would like to ask
Yes.
Okay.
what fund it is.
So there was a
Thank you.
disaster fund during COVID, a budget post for disaster fund. I believe it also started after we went into, what do you call that when you become the? Yes, so when the EOC is activated. So that fund is where all of the money came from when it came to COVID and so forth. And that fell under the Ministry of Azet, General Affairs.
So it's on the budget.
It was in the
Yes,
budget.
so the disaster fund is yearly budgeted for by the Ministry of General Affairs, also under the minister and under the fire department. There are two different posts for disasters. During COVID, because it was a health concern, it was transferred. A portion of it was transferred to cover the extra costs related to COVID-19, which were for the most part, we did get a lot of assistance from the Netherlands, etc. But for this part, we had to cover it ourselves, and that came from the then disaster fund. We increased actually the disaster fund from what it normally is for hurricanes and the like, and then a portion was transferred for ESF 6, which was leading in the disaster. So that is where that fund was. And there was a limit to how long it would be available. And based on what Minister was explaining, was based on the budget cuts needed for 2022, it was no longer sustainable. And we were already moving towards, everybody's moving away from the COVID health survey to enter the countries, and now more towards something that is statistics based, so that in the past we used to fill out a little piece of paper, it's now digital.
It was also lowered because of the risk of going from pandemic to endemic and the risk being lowered and the amount of money that would be needed to handle a pandemic.
But normally there is a disaster fund for any kind of disaster. Every year.
Okay, thank you for the clarifications. Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Arno. Prime Minister, concerning the support in Parliament as far as the legitimacy of this government, many members of the opposition are saying that there is not majority support for your cabinet. So, any comment concerning that?
Thank you for that question. I don't usually entertain political questions here. And I know you always do try, but I see the importance of clarifying something as an educator. Sometimes I get knocked for it, but I think every opportunity to enhance understanding of how our systems work is a good one for the people of St. Martin. And we do not want people to be bamboozled because they do not understand how the system works. What happened in Parliament on Monday is to Parliament's account, and it was a proposal made by a member to change the chair of Parliament. It has nothing to do with the support of the Parliament for government. Had we had a similar type of vote for the laws, then we would have a challenge, then we would have a problem. So there was full support, almost 12 of the 15, I believe, voted for the laws. A government has support, can be deemed it doesn't have support if it cannot govern. So we needed those laws to be passed to be able to govern. And so I have no concern with, let's call it the politics that is going on at Parliament at the moment, as we have a majority support still to this moment. So if someone knows something I do not know, then I guess I will hear about it. But up until now, the support for the government remains intact, and that was shown with the vote that was passing the law that was actually on question for that day. We do have other laws coming up, and we are ready to go to Parliament based on that support to get those laws enacted in the interest of the people of St. Martin, which also includes the budget. I hope that's clear. Yes? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Jacobs. With that, as much as we would like to try to entertain a third round, based on time constraints, we cannot entertain a third round. And I would therefore like to thank all the ministers of the council who are here today, our radio listeners, our television viewers, our internet viewers, for joining us at the live press briefing of the Council of Ministers for October the 19th, 2022. Everyone, thank you and have a safe day.